The shareholder has the right to do maintenance and refurbishing works in the apartment. The right to alterations is limited by the intended use of the apartment set in the Articles of Association. The shareholder is to comply with generally accepted construction methods and practices in performing the work. However, in most cases where there is a possibility that the work might affect the parts of the building that the company is responsible for, or that it might affect another shareholder, a written notification has to be given to the housing company. The notification is addressed to the board of directors, but can in many cases be handed to the manager as well. The notification must include all relevant information regarding the intended work needed to assess whether generally accepted construction methods and practices will be complied and whether the work will cause damage or harm to parts of the building or other shareholders. Also, the notification should include information such as needed permits or plans and information of contractors involved. Once the board or manager has received the notification, they must then without delay forward the notification to possible shareholders affected. The board and the manager must then process the notification in order to determine whether the work is to be permitted. The housing company or an affected shareholder also has the right to set due conditions for the intended work if it is necessary to prevent damage or harm or compensation. The housing company has the right to supervise the shareholder's project in order to ensure that the work is performed without damaging the building and that it is done in compliance with generally accepted construction methods and practices and conditions set by the company or another shareholder. For this, the housing company may appoint a supervisor. The shareholder is responsible for necessary and reasonable expenditures incurred by the housing company. If an official permit is required for the work, it must be applied for by the housing company or authorized by the housing company. The shareholder is responsible for the costs of applying a permit. The housing company has the right to perform necessary maintenance work on its responsibility in the shareholder's apartment. For this, the housing company, or for instance contractors authorized by it, must be allowed into the apartment. The housing company must notify the shareholder in writing of such works well in advance. Also, the housing company is allowed to perform alteration work aimed to modernize the building to common standards in accordance with decisions of the general meeting.